How is Trent Brown looking?
Look good. Got him out there for longest part today. Still be a game time decision. About the same as he was last week, so hopefully he's feeling good on Sunday.
Any other pressing injuries?
No, everyone else good to go.
How did this week go for Jimmy? Does he seem like he's getting in the routine now that it's 2 weeks in the books of practice as the start?
Yeah, I think there's he knew more what to expect, just how the reps went, going through the game plan stuff more to focus on things that were more important. You just start to learn. Can't focus on everything, so some things are more important than others. And after going through it for a week, I think I had a better feel of that this week, and I think that'll continue.
You said that Friday is usual red zone day?
Yes.
So is that more urgency this time after last week?
No, it's the same urgency every week. Yeah, so we don't change. We try our hardest every week. Trying to really emphasize on trying to have less penalties. Thought that killed us last week, having those penalties down there. And if we can go penalty-free, it'll give us a much easier chance or better chance to score.
Easier to commit in the red zone?
I want to say they're easier to commit. They're just, I think it's a bigger deal. When you have first and goal, and then you move back, if it's first and goal from the 10 and you end up having penalties and you end up having like a third and goal from the 15 or something, it's the percentage of scoring there are very low. You can drop everybody. You basically can put 11 guys in the end zone and almost you have to check it down, and it's like a kick return with no lead blocker. So it's tough when you're behind the chains in the red zone. It's tough anywhere on the field, but especially down there because you can't throw it past them.
Houston defense obviously missing some big pieces, but how big of an impact can Clowney make? It seems like they use him a lot of different ways, and he's one of those guys that can maybe wreck a whole game plan.
Yeah, he has as big of an impact in the game as anyone in the NFL. I mean, there's a number of guys like that, but he's definitely one of them. He's playing like the first pick in the draft, and he presents a lot of issues schematically because he has the ability to move around in a number of spots, and even when he's where he's going to be, he's still tough to handle.
Coach, I have a question and a follow-up. Your players have talked a lot about how complex your offense is, and you've talked about it at times too. What are the virtues of complexity in terms of offensive skill?
I don't know if it's all complexity, but it's also detail. We have high expectations and high demand of players that we want things done as good as you can do it. Depths of routes, precisions of routes, how you block, techniques you use, where you go with the ball. I think that gives guys a chance to have a system and get open and not just keep your fingers crossed and hope someone makes a play. It allows you, I think, if you don't use scheme and try to attack defenses and the weaknesses that they have, then you just hope that your players are better than the players they're going against every week, and that's what gives you a chance. If you can attack a defense and attack their weakness in a number of different ways, sometimes you can help players get in a more advantageous position than they would just lining up and going against someone who might be better than them.
My follow-up is you took a month before you put Jimmy on the field because you had to learn your detailed offense. Another option would have been to simplify the offense and get him in after a couple of weeks like the Colts did with Jacoby Brissett. So what was the benefit of keeping him out?
So we could learn more of the offense, and we are simplifying it. That's what we'll continue to do throughout the year.
I know you simplified it, but still, it took you a month to get him on the field. It's taken other teams a couple of weeks in certain situations, similar situations. So why did it take you a month to learn a simplified version?
We thought that's what was best for our organization, so I don't compare ourselves at all to other teams. Like I said from the beginning, it wasn't just about Jimmy. It was about our whole team, our organization. We thought that was best for our organization, and still feel very confident in what we did, and we'll continue to always make decisions that we think is best for our organization.
Savage has played pretty well last week, and is he starting to get more comfortable? Speaking of getting comfortable on offense, do you see him getting more comfortable?
He played very well last week. I think it's similar, guys. This is a week in and week out league. Just because someone has a good game doesn't mean, they're getting comfortable. They're going to be going great from here on out. There's highs and lows between series, between quarters, between games. Just because someone has a good game doesn't mean that's going to be better the next week. You got to adjust the defenses. Sometimes it depends on who you're playing. Sometimes it depends on how well you blocked, how open people got. Sometimes it has to do with some off-schedule plays. There are so many variables that goes into a player having success in this league that has to do with the other 10 guys on the field, has to do with the 11 guys he's going against, the situations and games. I think people in this country put way too much on just looking at numbers and deciding, oh, they did good or they did bad. It's very hard to do good in this league by yourself. And when you do bad in this league, it's usually not all your fault. It has to do with the people around you. It's the biggest team sport to me that there is, and you can't succeed in this league without the help of other people. So I never look at it as a guy's arrived or he hasn't. It's about grinding each week and trying to be more consistent, and that's why I don't look at numbers very much. I watch how a guy plays, and I've watched Savage for a while. He's got the ability to make every single throw. He's got a big-time arm. He's a tough guy who will hang in the pocket. And if he has the time and people get open, he can play at a very high level. If you get after him, don't give him the time. Give those receivers less time to get open. Just like any quarterback, they'll struggle.
Snaps last week, I think it's the fewest since 2009, actually. How can that help in going forward, just kind of closing out the season? And also, did you notice maybe any other issues or anything like that in practice this week from those guys?
Yeah, it's it helps the guys a lot when they don't play many plays. I mean, that's that's almost half a game compared to some other games we've had, and it does help guys. Guys are less sore, especially on the defense side of the ball. Their legs come back a little bit more. I think that it's no coincidence that we were healthier this week than we have been in most weeks coming after games. Wish every game could be like that. You never know how it's going to go, but that one worked out in our favor. We had a bunch of long drives. Converted a bunch of key third downs, and our defense did a real good job getting off the field also.
Secret DeAndre Hopkins, special receiver, but when you're game planning for a guy like that, what makes him so dangerous?
One is talent. I mean, he's extremely explosive. I mean, you can see that at his 40 time. He's not just a speed guy either. He has strength in his legs. He has explosion. He plays physical. He's not scared to get hit. He has the hands so he can attack the ball. You got a guy who has that talent and that type of mentality. He's tough to deal with, and our corner's going to be challenged. They will challenge him and not hesitate, but I also know it takes a whole team to stop something like that. You got to have a pass rush. You got to have safeties that play over the top and help. And he's going to have some of his, but you got to try to eliminate those big plays that lead to touchdowns.
Well, the vast majority of your offensive line penalties have been false starts. Can you pinpoint a reason for why that is?
I mean, to me, false starts goes with concentration, and we got to get better at concentrating. I mean, that's something that you can control, and we haven't done a good job of that this year. So I always look at false starts and pre-snap penalties as focus, and that's something we haven't done, and we've had some ones in some bad situations too.
Question about your offense. I know you've had success with it in the past, but is it hard to coach a complex and detailed offense and have success given the restrictions the CBA place on practice times and game time?
No, I mean, I don't know. I've been a coordinator for 9 years, and I get confused with the complex and the words you choose. It's just an offense. You run the plays that everyone else does. Do you demand stuff? Do you want guys to do the right routes? Do you just let them wing it? Complexity is about 11 guys moving together, being able to get in and out of stuff, how fast you can move with the tempo, the different types of things you can do. But we're not college where you only get 2 hours a day. When we get OTAs, we get training camp. I do believe that if you ever want to have success in this league, without just hoping that your players are better than everyone else, you better be able to do more than one thing.
You've used the word complex, you've used the word detailed, and you've coached before the current CBA and in it now. Did the new CBA, the restrictions it's placed, given you more of a challenge to coach the offense you like to coach, or do you work around it just fine?
No, nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed, you don't have padded practices as much, which isn't something we did in the past either. So that hasn't changed at all.
Juszczyk was talking about Garoppolo and says it feels like you're 1-0, you have a new season, and he wishes you had like 14 more games instead of 4. Do you have that feeling like, geez, maybe by this time everyone's ready for the season to end? I don't know, but I mean, is there a feeling like I wish we had a few more games to do this?
I don't really look at it that way. This season we've had a lot of ups and downs throughout the season. It has been tough considering our record, but I do look at this season as I do look at it as a positive, which I don't misunderstand me when I say that, because I'm extremely disappointed with our record. But I think this season, although it hasn't gone exactly how I want, I think it was a necessity into where we're trying to go. And I do believe it's going to be part of the process that will lead us to better things. I think we've had to find out a lot about people, a lot about some of our players. They've had to find out a lot about us coaches, and I think we've gotten better through it. I think a true brotherhood, people who play for each other, people who can get tighter. I feel like that happens through going through adversity together and responding together. Nothing's been perfect by any means, very far from that, but I feel like our guys have grown stronger throughout the year. I felt that not just last week, but I felt it for over the last month. It always is nice when you do win, because you can reward that feeling, and guys, they feel it, they hope it, and then you get to see the result. That game versus Chicago, we could have missed the field goal at the last second. They could have had those laterals and returned the kick at the last second, and we probably would have felt a lot different. But should we have? Yeah, because you're graded on wins and losses. But that also, if we would have missed that field goal, does that take away all the positive stuff that we felt that we did? And it probably would have. But that's why you have to be so mentally strong in this game and see the big picture and try not to let outside things affect you. You worry about things you can control, and that's doing your best, playing your hardest, trying to get better each week. And I think our team has done a good job focusing on that stuff. It's been nice to get a win last week to reward them. I hope we can continue and get some more. But our whole thing here is just trying to get better, and if that's all you focus on and worry about nothing else, usually good things happen, and you hope they happen sooner than later.
This season was necessary. What do you mean exactly? I mean, you may have touched on it right there, but what do you
Well,
mean?
yeah, I just think that I personally think everything happens for a reason. So I try not to label things, even though it might seem like a negative. I think sometimes, if you would have told me I had to come here and it was going to take me 10 weeks to get a first win, I would have probably said that's going to be rough, and I would not have said that was a positive. I would have said that was a negative. But you try not to sit here and harp on that. You try to think, all right, well, this did happen. Yeah, it's tough, but for some reason, this is going to be positive because it's going to lead us to something. It's going to pull us together. It's going to have us go through some things that we can fight through to still get through this, that maybe can help us next year when we go through something. Hopefully it's not 9 in a row. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3. But when you go through things like that and you know how it feels before, you know how to handle it better the next time. I think, when you're, I like to say the word battle tested, and when you've gone through I don't think you find out about yourself or about the people next to you until you see how they respond to adversity. And I think we've seen that a lot this year. And that's why I think our team has a very good feeling for each other and what we're capable of. And I think the guys who have stood through this and have continued to get better, those are the guys you can count on and that are going to be a part of this next year and a part of this for the future. And of course, we're going to continue to add and hopefully build each year and year out. But I think going through this, you get a foundation of some players that can handle stuff and are battle tested and are going to be much stronger for it going into next year.
One thing you said right there, as a coach, do you always think crazy lateral plays are going to work and they're going to score a touchdown?
No, I never think they're going to work. As an offensive coach, I always talk about time on task, and I don't have a ton of plays like that because you have to work on those, and I think the odds of them working are extremely small. But then when I watch people do them against us, I don't feel as comfortable. I'm always a little bit nervous, especially when they have some guys out there like Cone from last week and people who do have the ability. But I will say that one wasn't bad because I saw that flag go up early, and so I could relax and just enjoy watching the laterals, knowing it wasn't going to count.
I was wondering. I know it's not the rule now, but when should the officials just blow it dead? Because guys, I feel, can get hurt.
Yeah, I would think so. I was hoping we were going to pick and score so I could say we got a touchdown. But it's, there's lots of things that are different. I was even watching that game last night. I've been thinking about all week, if they would have let us score, should we have or should we not have? Should we have taken a knee right there at the 1? I think you go either way. Then I see something like last night. We had no timeouts in that game. And what if we did let the ball run down and now we go to kick a field goal on the 1-yard line with 5 seconds left and we make it, but there's an illegal formation or a false start? Now the game's over. So there's so many things that, there's lots of things you got to think of in the heat of battle, and there's so much stuff that go into it. But I watched that happen in New Orleans last night. I'm like, I couldn't believe they didn't get to re-kick the field goal. But, there was no time on the clock, and if there was and you didn't have any timeouts, then you get the 10-second runoff. So there's so many things that can go into a game that you try to prepare for all of it. You try to have people help you out within the heat of battle. But it's stuff you got to keep up with for sure.